Hello everyone, I'm Jack, CMO at IO.net, and put simply, at IO.net we're here to help you build, run and scale in AI, and as the title suggests, without going broke, without spending all of your money on compute or AI infrastructure, and indeed having to wait months. And so today I'm going to give you a bit of a look under the hood, the tech at IO.net. And also, I really want to sort of spend some time going into the philosophy about what we're building and why we're building it. As we all know, AI is moving really fast. And what we're starting to see is that the traditional infrastructure that has got us to this point is starting to crack. It's starting to show its weaknesses, and it's starting to slow people down. Coupled with the fact that we're also starting to sleepwalk into what potentially could be a dystopian future whereby the power of the LLMs are actually kept behind closed doors with the few as opposed to the many. And that's very much sort of the philosophy that we try and take to heart at IO.net when we're building our product and our service. And we really sort of try and put accessibility, flexibility, cost effectiveness, and indeed fairness and empowerment into the products that we're building. So today I'm just going to give you a bit of a look under the hood about the problem, but also how we're trying to address it. So AI is scaling, of course. We see it here in the conference, but under the hood, the infrastructure really isn't. We see the demand for compute exploding. As you can see from the right here, we see by 2030 we'll have an exponential increase in the amount of compute power required to power all of the needs in AI. As the models are getting more complicated and as application usage goes up, really the underlying infrastructure is really struggling to keep up. A stat that really keeps me awake at night is we need to double our GPU power every 5 or 6 months just to keep up with the current level of demand. And so while everyone talks about deploying agents and leveraging RAG, etc., nobody really talks about where to run it or how. And when someone tries to actually come and do that, the answer is increasingly become, well, nowhere easily and nowhere really fast. Compound that problem, 65% of the compute power is actually owned by 3 companies. And so that creates an over-centralization problem, which we're all facing as well. And in that vein, we also see that LLM usage is actually pretty closed. And we talk about AI being in benefit of everybody. But yeah, 70% of LLM usage comes through closed APIs, and only 30% comes from open source APIs. And the stat that really gets me is 83% of teams actually would prefer to use open source models, but the actual infrastructure and ability to productize those open source APIs just isn't there. It's not simple enough, it's not intuitive enough. And that's something, again, at IO.net we really take to heart when building the products and services that we provide. And the last thing is, like, the hyperscalers really have got us to where we are today, and they power most of AI as we know it, but they're starting to show their flaws, as I've mentioned. Often very costly, often very opaque, and often people have to wait a long time to be able to access those tools. And so again, that's something that we believe we want to change. We believe that infrastructure should be more open, it should be more distributed and flexible, and it should be fairer for people. And so that's the foundations that we're building on at IO. So I'm just going to give you a little look under the hood at the IO.net stack. And so we are the intelligence stack for AI workloads. We're made up of 3 layers of our stack. At the bottom, we have IO Cloud, which is our decentralized compute product. So you'll be able to spin up a GPU cluster within 2 minutes, just with a click of a few buttons, and I'll show you how in a minute. We then have our IO Intelligence layer, which is our AI infrastructure layer, where you can leverage a whole host of open source models at the click of a button, be able to use RAG, and be able to leverage our agent builder. Basically all the tools that you need to interact with AI, all in one place, in one unified API. And then the top layer is our IO application layer, and that is just a showcase of all of the applications and customers that sort of leveraging the stack that we have. And what I'm going to show you today is how we can actually do this thanks to distributed systems and decentralization, how you can do it in a cost-effective way. Whether you're just a developer, you want to just spin up one GPU unit to do fine training or whatever, all the way through to an enterprise who needs much bigger scale. Our stack is flexible enough to be able to deal with that. So let's start at the bottom with our IO Cloud product. So these are the 3 simple steps to be able to spin up a cloud on a GPU on IO.net. You first select the setup, whether that is a container, whether that is Ray, Mega Ray, or just a bare metal machine. You decide which setup you want. You select the type of GPU device that you want, the chipset that you want, whether you want high-performing devices like H200s, H100s, or whether you want something a little bit more cost-effective. That's there at the click of a button. We have a variety of different locations that you can spin up your device in, over 138 different countries. And then you configure your device, add your payment details, and click deploy. And within 2 minutes, you've got access to high-performing GPU clusters within under 2 minutes. And that's all without submitting a support ticket, without speaking to a human, and with no lock-in. You pay for what you use. And so you're all probably thinking, okay, great, Jack, how does this actually work? Surely too good to be true, right? And it's actually because of the nature of how we've built our product that we can actually do this. This is what we call decentralized physical infrastructure in action, or DePIN in the Web3 space. It's where we can tap into the idle GPU usage across the world as part of our network. People can volunteer that GPU onto the network, stake IO tokens to be able to guarantee the performance of those devices, and then we can show those devices to users who might want to use them, and they can obviously spin up and use the IO.net product to deploy the GPU from there. So we're tapping into that 90% of the world's idle GPU processors to be able to do that. So we don't own the data centers, but we coordinate the different supply to meet the demands that the customers have. Very novel way to solve the problem. Right, let's go up the stack. The second layer is our IO Intelligence layer, which is our open source AI studio. And as I sort of alluded to earlier, it's one single place with all of our AI tools and agents, which are all unified through a single API. And what we find from speaking to engineers is that they're spending up to 50% of their time juggling different tools from different providers, whether that is using an API for inference, whether that's another product for RAG, another for orchestration. And what we're trying to do with IO Intelligence is to remove that complexity within the system and restore time back into the hands of developers and engineers so that they can actually get the value from those from the tools that they have, as opposed to just having to deal with the coordination of it. And we break the product down into 3 simple buckets. We have our inference and fine-tuning tool, where you can run open source models. There's a whole host of open source models. At the touch of a few buttons, you can actually use our retrieval engine or our RAG product to be able to ground with those agents within your own data and your own context. And like I say, that's all unified through one single deployment API. We then have our agent and model marketplace, where you can leverage a whole host of custom agents that have been built to leverage as part of your product or service with no real setup costs, and it's fully configurable to your needs. And then lastly, we have this product coming soon, very, very soon, we have our agent builder product. So basically a agentic workflow product where you can build your own custom agents with custom logic, custom tools, so that you can adapt the models to be able to meet the needs for you in a more cost-effective and simple way. And like I say, this entire infrastructure runs on the IO Cloud platform, which means we're able to offer these services with incredibly low latency and an incredibly low cost. So removing the infra complexity and also saving you money. And then I touched on the open and closed LLM problem at the start. And actually, IO Intelligence really is a product that tries to overcome that problem and make open source models more accessible and easier to integrate with people. So you're no longer stuck by some of the problems that you have with closed source LLMs, and you can move into one unified product where you can actually be visible in how these models are making decisions. You can be more open in how the innovation is being made, and be easier to be able to flip between different models to get different types of output based on whatever it is you're trying to achieve. And then just a thing to other numbers on IO.net. We've been live almost a year now, and IO Cloud Platform we've had almost over 14 million worth of daily network earnings put through the network. And like I say, because we're a decentralized network of GPUs, you can actually see how much revenue is coming into the network and how much suppliers are actually using. It's all open and verifiable, and so that nobody can hide behind numbers or figures. We put all of ours out in the open, and it's the same with our supply. We have over 10,000 active GPUs on our network today. And in terms of our IO intelligence products, we have over 1 billion tokens being used per week on our open source models, and so that's real usage that people are gaining value from our products and service, and along with over 5,000 different enterprises, startups, and developers leveraging that product as well. It's not a prototype, it's real technology in action. And here's just a list of some of the partners that we work with who leverage the IO.net full stack. And so what's coming next? So like the customers that we have who are constantly innovating using our technology, we're always innovating too. And we have an exciting roadmap ahead, including training as a service, obviously the agent builder that I've talked about, multimodal AI support, and then orchestration with managed VMs coming early next year. And so I mentioned I wouldn't just talk about the tech and the product, but I'd also talk about philosophy. This is our vision statement that we live and breathe by at IO.net when we're building our products. And that is that we want to make it easy for anyone, anywhere, to access the tools to develop AI through reliable, affordable, and performant platforms. And we always keep that to heart as we build. So I encourage you guys to try us out. Don't just take my word for it. Experience it for yourself. So you can do that by going to IO.net, just like I say, spinning up a cluster within 2 minutes, or deploying an agent on your product through our single deployment API using IO Intelligence. We've just launched applications for our hackathon, our inaugural hackathon today, which you can find out more details by scanning the QR code or going to IO.net. And lastly, we just launched a grants program for anybody who's just starting out in the industry and wants to benefit from free startup compute credits to be able to power their organization. That's all available, the details are available on our website on that, or you can find us at our booth just around the corner there. And so I'll leave you guys to enjoy the rest of your conference. Thank you very much, and thank you.